The moment I walked into Castellanos, I knew something was wrong. The private dining room in the back had floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city, and every single member of my husband's family was already seated at the long table. They'd started without me. More than that, they'd positioned themselves like they were waiting for a show to begin. My husband Derek sat at the far end of the table, and next to him sat Heather. The same Heather from his office. The same Heather whose name I'd found in his text messages 3 months ago when I'd confronted him. The same Heather he'd sworn meant nothing. She wore a red dress that probably cost more than my car payment, and her hand rested on the table close enough to Derek's that their fingers were almost touching. Almost. Like they wanted me to notice but could claim innocence if challenged. I stood in the doorway of the restaurant's private section, my black dress suddenly feeling too simple, too plain. The hostess had already disappeared. I was alone with 12 pairs of eyes staring at me. "Simone, you're late." My mother-in-law Patricia didn't smile. She never smiled at me, not in 10 years of marriage, but tonight her face held something different. Something that looked almost like satisfaction. She sat at the head of the table in a cream silk suit, her gray hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. "We've already ordered appetizers." The traffic was bad. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. I hated that. I cleared my throat. Derek didn't mention this was a family dinner. He just said to meet him here at 7. "Well, you're here now." Patricia gestured to the only empty chair. It was at the opposite end of the table from Derek, sandwiched between his younger brother Nathan and his cousin Brittany. The seat that said I didn't matter. The seat that said I was an afterthought. I walked to the chair on legs that felt disconnected from my body. Every step on the hardwood floor echoed. Nobody spoke. The silence felt heavy, deliberate. I'd been to hundreds of family dinners over the years, and they were never quiet. The whole family was loud, always talking over each other, always competing for attention. This silence was planned. Nathan pulled out my chair with exaggerated politeness. "Please sit." I sat. The leather chair was cold through my dress. I placed my purse on my lap and folded my hands over it. Across the table, Derek's sister Amanda stared at me with barely concealed amusement. Next to her, Derek's father Harold studied his wine glass like it contained secrets. A waiter appeared with champagne flutes on a silver tray. He placed one in front of each person, including me. I noticed Heather already had one. She'd been here long enough to be served first. My stomach turned. Patricia stood, lifting her glass. "I suppose we should get this started. Everyone has champagne?" Glasses lifted around the table. Mine stayed on the white tablecloth. "Good." Patricia's smile was sharp. "We're here tonight because this family has reached an important crossroads. As you all know, Harold and I have spent considerable time reviewing our estate planning. We've made some significant changes." My heart started beating faster. Estate planning. Inheritance. Derek had been unusually interested in his parents' finances lately, always taking phone calls in another room, always meeting with their lawyers. I thought it was normal family business. After careful consideration and consultation with our attorneys, we've restructured our will. Patricia's eyes swept the table and landed on me. Stayed on me. "Simone, this particularly concerns you." The room felt like it was shrinking. I wanted to stand up and leave, but my legs wouldn't move. "We've decided to remove you as a beneficiary from our estate. Effective immediately, you will inherit nothing when Harold and I pass. Furthermore, we've restructured Derek's trust fund. Since you and Derek never had children despite 10 years of marriage, we see no reason to continue including you in our family's financial future." The words hit me like physical blows. Around the table, nobody looked surprised. They'd all known. This whole dinner was planned so they could watch my reaction. "Mother, that seems harsh." Nathan's voice held fake concern. "Maybe we should discuss this privately." "No." Patricia cut him off. "Simone deserves to hear this with the whole family present. Transparency is important. Besides, we have other announcements." I couldn't breathe right. The room swayed slightly. I gripped the edge of the table. Patricia continued, her voice growing warmer. "Derek has been unhappy for quite some time. He's been maintaining appearances, but life is too short for that. Derek, would you like to share your news?" Derek stood. He wouldn't look at me. His eyes focused on a point somewhere over my left shoulder. "I filed for divorce. The papers will be served next week. I'm moving out of the house this weekend." "You what?" The words finally came. My voice sounded strange, distant. "I'm sorry, Simone. But this hasn't been working for a long time. You know that." He still wouldn't look at me. "I've already moved most of my things. The house is paid off, so you can stay there for now, but we'll need to sell it as part of the divorce settlement. Heather placed her hand on Derek's arm. The gesture was possessive, claiming, "Derek and I have been seeing each other for 8 months. We're in love." 8 months. While I was cooking dinners and doing his laundry and attending his family events. 8 months of lies. This is insane. I finally found my voice louder now. "You brought me here to humiliate me? You cut me out of the will and brought your mistress to announce it?" "Mistress is such an ugly word," Heather said. She had the nerve to look offended. "Derek and I are partners. Real partners. Not like whatever you two had." Amanda laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, this is better than I expected. Look at her face." I pushed back from the table. The chair scraped loudly. "You're all sick. This whole family is sick." Patricia's voice turned ice cold. "Sit down, Simone. We're not finished." "I am." I grabbed my purse. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. "You can all go straight to hell." "Before you go," Harold spoke for the first time, his voice gruff, "you should know that Derek has already emptied your joint bank accounts. The money was technically his family money anyway. The credit cards are canceled. The car you drive is in Derek's name. I suggest you figure out your living situation quickly." The room spun. They'd planned everything. Every detail. While I'd been sleeping next to Derek every night, they'd been orchestrating this. "Why?" I looked at Derek. Finally, he met my eyes. "Why like this?" He shrugged. "Because we could. Because you were convenient for a while and now you're not. That's how life works, Simone. Maybe you'll learn that now." Heather snuggled closer to him. "Don't be mean, baby. She'll be fine. She's young enough to start over." I walked out. Nobody tried to stop me. Behind me, I heard champagne glasses clinking and someone said, "Good riddance," and they all laughed. The sound followed me through the restaurant, past the other diners who stared at my face, and out into the cold night air. My car was in the parking garage. Derek's car, technically. Everything was technically his. I'd spent 10 years building a life, and in one dinner, they destroyed it all. They'd done it with smiles and champagne and satisfaction. I sat in the car for 20 minutes before I could stop shaking enough to drive. The city lights blurred through my tears. I'd been so stupid. So blind. I'd loved a man who'd never loved me back. I tried to fit into a family that had always seen me as temporary. But as I started the engine and pulled out of the parking garage, something shifted inside me. The tears stopped. My hands steadied on the steering wheel. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd broken me. They had no idea what they'd just started. I drove home in complete silence. No radio, no phone calls, just the sound of my breathing and the occasional horn from other cars. The house I'd lived in for 8 years appeared at the end of the tree-lined street. It was a nice house, not as big as Derek's parents' mansion but comfortable. I'd painted the shutters blue myself 3 summers ago. I'd planted the rose bushes along the front walk. None of it was mine. The garage door opener still worked. Small blessings. I pulled in next to the empty space where Derek's BMW usually sat. He'd already taken it. Already moved out his things, he'd said. I turned off the engine and sat there in the dark garage, staring at the wall where we'd hung a bicycle I'd bought 2 years ago for exercise. I'd ridden it maybe 5 times. So many things I'd meant to do. So many plans that would never happen now. I went inside through the kitchen door. The house felt different. Emptier. I walked through room by room, turning on every light, and with each room I discovered what Derek had taken. His desk from the home office. His gaming chair. His collection of sports memorabilia from the den. His expensive coffee maker. His clothes from the walk-in closet. His toiletries from the bathroom. He'd left my things untouched, but he'd taken all the shared items. The good sheets. The nice towels. The expensive cookware we'd gotten as wedding gifts. The living room looked strange with gaps where furniture used to be. He'd even taken the television. In the kitchen I found a note on the counter. His handwriting. "Simone, the locks will be changed on Monday. Someone will contact you about moving out. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. D. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Like I was the problem. Like I was the one who'd destroyed everything. I crumpled the note and threw it across the room. It bounced off the refrigerator and landed on the floor. I left it there. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Heather. Just wanted to say no hard feelings. Derek and I hope you find happiness. Also, the Tiffany bracelet he gave you on your anniversary was actually from me. I picked it out. Thought you should know." I stared at the message. The bracelet I'd worn every day for months. The bracelet I'd thought proved he still cared. She'd picked it out. This woman I'd never met had chosen my anniversary present. Another text came through. Oh, and FYI, we started dating at the company retreat. You know, the one you didn't come to because you had the flu? You told everyone you were boring and never wanted to have fun. Just thought you deserved honesty. I blocked the number. Then I walked to the bathroom and took off the bracelet. It was beautiful, silver with small diamonds. I dropped it in the toilet and flushed. It swirled once and disappeared. That felt good. I changed into pajamas and made tea, even though it was only 8:30. Too early for bed, but I had nowhere else to be. No job to go to in the morning. I'd quit my marketing position when Derek got promoted 3 years ago. He'd said we didn't need two incomes. He'd said I should focus on the house and starting a family. Starting a family. That had been the plan. But month after month, nothing happened. I'd wanted to see a fertility doctor. Derek kept saying next month, we'll go next month. Now I knew why. He'd never planned on having children with me. He'd been running out the clock. I opened my laptop. The joint bank account showed a balance of $47. Last week it had shown $23,000. Our savings account was empty. Our investment account was empty. Derek had cleaned everything out. My personal checking account had $1,800. I'd been putting a little aside every month, just pocket money from the household budget. It wouldn't last long. I checked my credit cards. All declined. He told the truth about that. I pulled up the deed to the house. Derek's name. Only his name. When we bought it, he'd said putting both names would complicate the mortgage since I wasn't working. I trusted him. I trusted everything. My phone rang. My best friend Candace. I answered. Girl, where are you? I've been calling for an hour. Her voice was worried. Home. What happened with Derek's family dinner? I started crying. I couldn't help it. The tears came hard and fast and I told her everything. The whole horrible dinner. The announcement. Heather sitting there in her red dress. The inheritance. The divorce. The empty bank accounts. Candace swore. I'm coming over. No, it's okay. I just need to sleep. I'm already in my car. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't argue. She hung up. I sat on the couch and cried until my eyes burned. I cried for the wasted years. I cried for the woman I'd been when I met Derek, confident and independent. I cried for how stupid I'd been. When Candace arrived, she brought wine and Chinese food in her laptop. We sat on the couch and she let me cry some more. Then she opened her laptop. Okay, first things first. We need to protect you legally. My cousin is a lawyer. I'm calling her right now. It's almost 10 at night. She owes me. She'll answer. Candace called, and after some arguing and explaining, she handed me the phone. The woman on the other end introduced herself as Bianca Rodriguez. Her voice was sharp and professional. Candace told me the basics. Here's what you need to know. Texas is a community property state. That means everything acquired during the marriage belongs to both of you 50-50. He can't just take it all. But his name is on everything. Doesn't matter. If it was acquired during the marriage, you're entitled to half. The house, the bank accounts, his retirement, all of it. Did you sign any prenuptial agreement? I thought back. No. He said we didn't need one because we loved each other. Good. That helps. The inheritance from his parents is separate property, so you wouldn't have gotten that anyway. But everything else is fair game. Did you contribute to the household financially before you quit your job? Yes. For the first 5 years. Even better. You helped build the marital estate. Look, I can't promise you'll get everything, but you're not going to end up with nothing. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning? Yes. Good. 9 o'clock. Bring every document you can find. Bank statements, tax returns, investment account information, anything with both your names. Also, write down a timeline of your marriage. When you got married, when you quit your job, major purchases, anything significant. We're going to fight this. After we hung up, Candace squeezed my hand. See? You're not helpless. Derek thinks he's so smart, but he's about to learn what happens when you mess with the wrong woman. I wanted to believe her. But looking around the half-empty house, I felt anything but strong. I need to ask you something, I said. Did you know? About Heather. Candace looked uncomfortable. I heard rumors. Nothing concrete. I tried to tell you to watch him, remember? But you always defended him. She was right. Anytime someone questioned Derek, I jumped to his defense. I'd been so desperate to believe in our marriage that I'd ignored every warning sign. I'm sorry, Candace said. I should have pushed harder. No, this isn't your fault. It's mine for being blind. And his for being a cheating liar. We stayed up until midnight, going through documents I had stored in the house. Tax returns from the last 7 years. copies of bank statements, the house deed, our marriage certificate. I put everything in a folder for tomorrow's meeting with Bianca. After Candace left, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Derek's side was empty. The whole room felt wrong now. Every piece of furniture, every decoration, all of it reminded me of a life that had been a lie. But underneath the grief and shock, something else was growing. Something cold and determined. Derek and his family thought they'd crushed me. They'd done it publicly, cruelly, on purpose. They'd savored my pain. That's what kept replaying in my mind. Not just that they'd hurt me, but that they'd enjoyed it. I'd spent 10 years being the good wife, the agreeable daughter-in-law, the woman who never caused problems. And this was how they repaid me. I reached for my phone and opened my notes app. I started typing. Things I know about the family business. Harold has 2 sets of books for the company. Patricia claimed jewelry on insurance that she never owned. Derek used company money for personal expenses. Nathan has a gambling problem they cover up. The accountant quit last year and threatened to go to the IRS. I'd heard all of this over the years. Bits and pieces of conversations at family dinners. Drunken confessions at holiday parties. Things they'd said when they forgot I was in the room because I was so insignificant to them. I'd never thought about it before. I'd never cared about their shady business dealings. But now I cared. Now every piece of information I had was a weapon. I kept typing until 3 in the morning. Every secret. Every lie. Every questionable thing I'd witnessed in 10 years of marriage. They wanted to play games? Fine. But they'd made a critical mistake. They'd assumed I'd just walk away quietly. They'd assumed I'd be too broken to fight back. They were wrong. Bianca's office was in a modern building downtown, all glass and steel. I dressed carefully that morning, choosing a navy suit I hadn't worn since I quit my job. I wanted to look professional. In control. Even though inside I felt like I was falling apart. The receptionist led me to a corner office with a view of the city. Bianca stood when I entered. She was younger than I expected, maybe 35, with dark hair pulled into a sleek bun and sharp brown eyes that seemed to see everything. "Simone, please sit." She gestured to a leather chair across from her desk. "Did you bring the documents?" I handed her the folder. She spent 20 minutes reviewing everything while I sat in silence, my hands folded in my lap. Through the window, I could see office buildings and people going about their normal lives. I wondered if any of them had been ambushed at a family dinner and had their entire existence stripped away. "This is good," Bianca finally said. She looked up from the papers. "Your husband was sloppy. He moved money around but left a clear trail. The fact that he emptied the accounts just days before announcing the divorce works in your favor. It shows intent to defraud you of marital assets." "What does that mean?" "It means a judge won't like it. It means we can argue he was hiding money and planning this for months. We can request an immediate temporary restraining order preventing him from moving any more assets. We can also request temporary spousal support while the divorce is pending." Hope flickered in my chest. "So I'm not going to end up homeless?" "Not if I have anything to say about it." Bianca leaned back in her chair. "Tell me about his family's wealth. You mentioned his parents cut you out of their will. Did they ever include you before?" "Yes. Patricia showed me the will 5 years ago. She said it was important for me to know that Derek and I would inherit the estate together. She made a big deal about how I was family forever, and they'd take care of us. Do you have any proof of that?" "No. It was just a conversation." Bianca tapped her pen against her notepad. "What about Derek's grandmother? You mentioned she passed away recently." "About 6 months ago. I actually liked her. She was the only one in the family who was ever kind to me. She left Derek a trust fund, but Patricia and Harold control it until Derek turns 40. That's in 3 years?" "Yes." "Interesting." Bianca made a note. "Did Derek's grandmother ever give you anything? Letters, gifts, anything?" I thought back. "She gave me jewelry. Nothing expensive, just costume jewelry she said belonged to her mother. I have it all in a box at home. She also gave me some photo albums from when Derek was a child. She said she wanted me to have them for when Derek and I had kids. I want to see everything she gave you. Every single item. Can you bring it to me tomorrow?" "Sure, but why?" "It's just old photos and cheap jewelry." Bianca smiled. "Because people's last wishes matter. And because rich families sometimes hide things in plain sight. Your grandmother-in-law sounds like she cared about you. She might have left you something and didn't tell the family." The idea seemed impossible. But I agreed to bring everything. "Now," Bianca continued, "you mentioned some questionable business practices by Derek's family. Tell me about that." I went through everything I'd written down. The 2 sets of books. The insurance fraud. The company credit card abuse. Bianca's expression didn't change, but she took detailed notes. This is explosive if it's true, she said when I finished. But we need proof. Allegations aren't enough. I know where some of the documents are. Harold keeps files in his home office. I've been there dozens of times for family events. Absolutely not. Bianca's voice turned firm. You will not break into anyone's home or office. You will not take anything that doesn't belong to you. We do this legally or we don't do it at all. Understood. I nodded, disappointed. However, Bianca continued, if you happen to remember specific details about what you saw, dates, amounts, that kind of thing, that would give me grounds to subpoena records. During discovery in your divorce, I can request Derek's financial records going back years. If there are irregularities, they'll show up. What about the IRS? I mentioned the accountant threatened to report them. Do you know the accountant's name? Gerald something. Gerald Hutchins, maybe? Bianca wrote it down. I'll see what I can find. If he filed a complaint with the IRS, there might be an investigation already. If not, well, sometimes information finds its way to the right authorities. She smiled slightly. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who knew how to fight dirty when necessary. We spent another hour going over details. My work history. What I'd contributed to the household. Major purchases. Everything that could help establish my claim to marital assets. I'm going to file the response to the divorce petition today, Bianca said. I'm also filing for emergency temporary orders. We'll request that Derek pay spousal support, that he restore the bank account funds, and that all marital property be frozen until the divorce is final. The hearing should be within 2 weeks. Will I have to see him? Yes. You'll both need to be present. But you'll have me there and we'll be prepared. After the meeting, I drove home feeling something I hadn't felt since the dinner from hell. Purpose. Direction. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was someone with a plan. At home, I went to the attic. The box from Derek's grandmother was in the back corner, under some Christmas decorations. I pulled it out and brought it downstairs. Inside were 3 photo albums, a velvet jewelry box, and several sealed envelopes. The envelopes were addressed to me in shaky handwriting. To Simone, to be opened when the time is right. They weren't sealed properly, just tucked closed. I opened the first one. Inside was a letter dated 2 weeks before she died. Dear Simone, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I want you to know that you brought joy to my last years. You were always kind to me when others weren't. You listened to my stories. You visited me in the nursing home when my own grandchildren couldn't be bothered. I know my family isn't always good to you. I see how Patricia treats you. How Derek takes you for granted. But I also know you're stronger than they think. When the time comes, and I think it will, you'll need to fight for yourself. I've left something for you. Not in my main will because Patricia would find a way to take it. But in another place, safe from her greedy hands. Look for the truth where I used to hide my secrets. You'll know what I mean if you think hard enough. You're a good woman, Simone. Don't let them make you forget that. Love, Grandma Catherine. My hands shook holding the letter. She'd known. She'd known her family would turn on me. And she'd left me something. Look for the truth where I used to hide my secrets. I thought back to visits with her before she went to the nursing home. She'd lived in a small cottage on the family estate. We'd spent hours there while she told me stories about her life. Where had she kept things hidden? Then I remembered. She'd shown me once, laughing about it. A loose floorboard under the bed in her cottage. She'd hidden love letters from her husband there when they were dating and her father didn't approve. The cottage was still on the property. Derek's parents hadn't rented it out yet. But how could I get inside? I didn't have keys and I certainly couldn't ask the family for access. I kept digging through the box. More letters, all telling me stories about the family. About how Patricia came from nothing and married Harold for money. About how Harold's father was abusive and Harold learned to hide money from him. About how Derek had always been spoiled and never learned to take responsibility. At the bottom of the box was a small envelope with a key taped to it. A note in Grandma Catherine's handwriting said, "Cottage back door. Just in case." I stared at the key. She'd planned this. She'd given me a way in. But Bianca had said not to break into anywhere. Was this breaking in if I had a key? Was it stealing if she'd given me permission? I called Bianca. I found something. Letters from Derek's grandmother. And a key to her cottage on the family property. She wrote that she hid something for me there. Something she didn't include in her main will. Silence on the other end. Then, don't go there alone. If you go, bring a witness. Bring someone who can testify that you had permission and that you only took what was specifically left for you. Do you understand? Yes. And Simone? Whatever you find, don't tell anyone except me. Not even your friends. This information is ammunition and we need to control when and how we use it. After we hung up, I called Candace. I need your help with something. It might be risky. Say no more. I'm in. What do you need? A getaway driver and a witness. Tomorrow night. Candace laughed. Girl, this is already more exciting than my entire year. I'll bring snacks. The next evening, Candace picked me up at 7. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. Perfect timing. Most of the estate staff would be gone, and Derek's parents usually had dinner at 8. You sure about this? Candace asked as we drove toward the estate. No. But I'm doing it anyway. The family estate was 15 miles outside the city, surrounded by tall iron gates. I knew the code. I'd used it hundreds of times over the years. I just hoped Derek's parents hadn't changed it yet. I punched in the numbers. The gate swung open. Okay, that was easier than expected, Candace muttered. We drove slowly up the long driveway. The main house was lit up like always, but the cottage sat dark in the back corner of the property, hidden by old oak trees. Candace parked near the cottage but kept the engine running. I'll stay here and watch for cars, she said. If anyone comes, I'll text you. How long do you need? 20 minutes, maybe? Make it 15. I'm nervous. I got out and walked to the cottage. The key fit perfectly in the back door lock. It opened with a soft click. I used my phone flashlight to see inside. The cottage looked exactly like I remembered. Small living room with floral furniture. Kitchen with yellow cabinets. One bedroom. But everything was covered in dust. Nobody had been here in months. I went straight to the bedroom. The bed was still made, the quilt that Grandma Catherine made herself smoothed across it. I pushed the bed aside, my heart pounding. There. The loose floorboard. I pried it up with my fingernails. Underneath was a metal box. I pulled it out and opened it. Inside were documents. Legal documents. I took pictures of everything with my phone, then started reading by flashlight. The first document was a will. A separate will from the one filed with the probate court. This one was dated 2 months before she died and had been notarized by someone named Thomas Chin. I, Catherine Louise Bennett, being of sound mind, hereby revise my last will and testament. I leave my primary estate to my grandchildren as previously specified. However, I hereby establish a trust in the amount of $5 million for Simone Bennett, wife of my grandson Derek Bennett. This trust is to be managed by Thomas Chin of Chin and Associates until such time as Simone requests disbursement. $5 million. I read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't imagining it. There was more. A deed to this cottage transferred into my name only. Stock certificates worth hundreds of thousands. A letter explaining everything. Simone, I know Patricia will try to cut you out. She's been pressuring me to remove you from my will for years. So I made 2 wills. One for her to see and one real one. This one is real. The notary, Thomas Chin, has the original in his office. This is your copy. I'm leaving you this money because you deserve security. You deserve a life of your own. Derek is weak like his father. Patricia is cruel like her mother. They will use you up and throw you away if you let them. Don't let them. This money is yours. The cottage is yours. The stocks are yours. Take them and build something beautiful. Build the life I know you're capable of. All my love, Grandma Catherine. I was crying, my tears dropping onto the papers. This woman, who I'd only known for a few years, had saved me. She'd seen what her family was and protected me from them. My phone buzzed. Candace, car coming up the driveway. Get out now. I shoved everything back in the metal box and closed it. I pushed the floorboard back into place and moved the bed. Then I ran out the back door, clutching the box to my chest. I made it to Candace's car just as headlights appeared around the bend. We drove out through the back service road, our hearts pounding, both of us silent until we were safely away from the estate. What did you find? Candace finally asked. Everything. She left me everything I need. Back at home, I spread all the documents across my kitchen table. I called Bianca even though it was 9 at night. I found it. She left me $5 million in a separate trust. Plus property and stocks. There's a notarized will that was never filed. Bianca swore softly. Give me the notary's information. I'm going to call him first thing tomorrow. If this will is legitimate, and it sounds like it is, you're not just getting out of this divorce okay. You're getting out ahead. What about Derek's family? Will they try to contest it? Let them try. If the will was properly executed, if she was of sound mind, and if the notary is legitimate, they don't have a leg to stand on. The law is clear. A person has the right to leave their property to whoever they choose. After we hung up, I sat at the table for a long time looking at the documents. Grandma Catherine had known this was coming. She planned for it. She'd made sure I wouldn't be left with nothing. I thought about the dinner at the restaurant. Patricia's smug face. Derek's cowardice. Heather's cruelty. They'd all been so certain they'd won. They'd enjoyed my pain so much. They had no idea what was coming. I opened my laptop and started researching. Thomas Chen was a lawyer in the city, specializing in estate planning. He had good reviews and a professional website. His office opened at 9 tomorrow morning. Then I searched for Gerald Hutchins, the accountant who'd threatened to report Derek's family to the IRS. I found him working at a different firm now. I sent him an email through his company website. Mr. Hutchins. My name is Simone Bennett. I was married to Derek Bennett for 10 years. We're currently divorcing. I understand you used to work for the Bennett family business. I have information that might interest you regarding their financial practices. Would you be willing to speak with me? I hit send before I could change my mind. Then I made a list. Tomorrow. Call Thomas Chen. Meet with Bianca to file the new will. Wait for Gerald's response. Start looking for apartments. Start looking for jobs. For the first time since the dinner, I felt something other than grief and anger. I felt hope. Real solid hope. The Bennetts had thought they could dispose of me like I was nothing. Like I was trash they could throw away after using me. They were about to learn that I wasn't nothing. I was someone. And I was someone who was about to take everything they thought they'd stolen from me. My phone buzzed. An email from Gerald Hutchins. Mrs. Bennett? I'd be very interested in speaking with you. I left the Bennett family business after discovering financial irregularities I couldn't ignore. I reported my concerns to the appropriate authorities, but I was told there wasn't enough evidence to pursue charges. If you have additional information, I'd like to hear it. Are you available to meet this week? I typed back, how about tomorrow at 2? His response came immediately, perfect. I'll send you my office address. I closed my laptop and looked around the kitchen. The house still felt empty and wrong, but it didn't feel hopeless anymore. Tomorrow I would start building my new life. Tomorrow I would start fighting back. Tonight I would sleep better than I had in days. Thomas Chen's office was in an older building with crown molding and hardwood floors. He met me in the lobby himself, a thin man in his 60s with wire-rimmed glasses and kind eyes. Mrs. Bennett, thank you for coming. When I heard about the family dinner, I wondered if you'd figure out what Catherine had done. You knew about it? About them cutting me out? He led me to his office and closed the door. Catherine knew her family well. She came to me 8 months before she passed and said she wanted to create a separate will. She told me Patricia was pressuring her to remove you as a beneficiary. Catherine refused. She said you were the only one who treated her like a person instead of a bank account. I wiped my eyes. I just liked spending time with her. She knew that. That's why she wanted to protect you. He pulled a thick file from his desk. I have the original will here. Notarized, witnessed, completely legal. I've been waiting for you to come forward. Catherine said you'd figure it out eventually. Why didn't you contact me after she died? She asked me not to. She said the timing had to be right. She wanted you to find it on your own when you were ready to use it. Catherine was unconventional, but she was smart. She knew exactly what she was doing. We spent 2 hours going over everything. The trust account with $5 million. The cottage deed. The stock certificates. All of it legally mine, separate from Derek's family. Can they contest this? I asked. They can try. But Catherine was examined by 2 doctors 1 week before signing this will. Both confirmed she was of sound mind. She had the will filmed being signed and notarized. I have the video. She left nothing to chance. Can I see the video? Thomas pulled out his laptop and played it. There on screen was Grandma Catherine, sitting in this very office, clear-eyed and firm-voiced. I, Catherine Louise Bennett, am creating this will of my own free choice. No one has coerced me. I am of sound mind and body. I am doing this because I want to protect someone I care about from my family's greed. Simone Bennett has been kind to me when others weren't. She deserves security and peace. This is my final wish and I expect it to be honored. The video was dated 6 months before she died. There was no way to claim she wasn't mentally competent. What do I do now? I asked. I file this will with the probate court today. There's already a case open for Catherine's estate. This will supersedes the previous one regarding your bequests specifically. The rest of her estate distribution remains the same. Derek and his siblings still get what Catherine left them. But your portion is separate and protected. How long until the money is available? Probate usually takes 6 months. But given the circumstances, I can petition for an early distribution of funds for your immediate needs. Say $500,000 to start. Would that help? I almost laughed. Would $500,000 help? Yes, that would help. Good. I'll have the paperwork filed by end of day. Expect a hearing within 2 weeks. The family will be notified, of course. I'm ready for that. After leaving Thomas's office, I drove straight to meet Gerald Hutchins. His new office was smaller, more modest. He was a heavy man in his 50s with tired eyes and a firm handshake. Mrs. Bennett, thank you for reaching out. I've thought about the Bennett family situation many times since I left. Tell me what you found. Gerald pulled out a folder stuffed with papers. I worked for Bennett Industries for 3 years. Great pay, good benefits. But about 18 months before I left, I started noticing discrepancies. Invoices that didn't match deliveries. Payments to vendors that didn't exist. Money moving between accounts and strange patterns. Did you confront them? I went to Harold first. He told me it was complicated and I didn't understand the business. Then I went to Derek. He told me to mind my own business. So I started documenting everything. When I had enough evidence, I told them I was going to the IRS unless they corrected the issues. What happened? They offered me $200,000 to keep quiet and sign an NDA. I took the money. I'm not proud of that. But I didn't sign the NDA. I let them think I did, but I never actually signed it. And I still reported them to the IRS anonymously. But without access to current records, the IRS couldn't do much. What if someone gave them current records? Gerald leaned forward. Then they'd have everything they need. Mrs. Bennett, I'm going to be honest with you. I feel guilty for taking that money and walking away. If you're planning to expose them, I'll help however I can. Even if it means testifying? Especially if it means testifying. They're criminals. They just happen to be rich criminals. But that doesn't make it right. I told him about the divorce, about the dinner, about everything. His face grew darker as I talked. They're even worse than I thought, he said when I finished. Look, during discovery in your divorce, your lawyer can subpoena financial records. If you get those records to me, I can analyze them and prepare a report showing the fraud. That report can go to the IRS, the SEC, whoever needs to see it. My lawyer mentioned something similar. Good. Smart lawyer. Listen, they think they're untouchable. Rich people always do. But everyone makes mistakes. Harold got sloppy toward the end of my employment. I'm betting he's gotten sloppier since. We exchanged contact information. As I was leaving, Gerald said, one more thing. Patricia has a safe deposit box at First National Bank downtown. She thought I didn't know about it, but I processed the rental fees. Whatever she's hiding there, it's important enough to keep off the books. Might be worth looking into. Back in my car, I called Bianca and updated her on everything. She was quiet for a long moment after I finished. Simone, this is bigger than I thought. The will alone is huge. But if we can prove financial fraud, we're not just protecting your interests in the divorce. We're potentially taking down an entire criminal enterprise. Is that bad? No, it's perfect. Because scared people make mistakes. And the Bennetts are about to be very, very scared. That afternoon, I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my old boss from the marketing firm where I'd worked before marrying Derek. Her name was Janet Reeves, and she'd always told me I had a gift for strategy. Simone, I haven't heard from you in forever. How are you? I'm going through a divorce. And I'm looking for work. Oh honey, I'm sorry. What kind of work are you looking for? Whatever you have. I need to rebuild my career. I know I've been out of the game for 3 years, but I'm a fast learner and I'm motivated. Janet paused. Actually, we just lost our senior marketing strategist. She moved to California. It's a contract position, 6 months with possibility of permanent hire. Pays $60,000 for the contract period. Would you be interested? When can I start? How about next Monday? Come in Friday to do paperwork and meet the team. I'll be there. After we hung up, I sat in my car and cried. But this time they were good tears. Relief tears. I had a job. I had money coming. I had legal protection. I had a plan. The Bennetts thought they destroyed me. They thought I'd slink away into nothing. Instead, I was building an army. A lawyer who knew how to fight. An accountant who knew their secrets. A notary with a legal will. An old boss who believed in me. I drove to Candace's apartment. When she opened the door, I was smiling. What happened? You look different. I got a job. And I'm about to be a millionaire. And I'm going to destroy the people who tried to destroy me. Candace pulled me into a hug. That's my girl. I knew you had it in you. We celebrated with pizza and cheap wine, and for the first time in 2 weeks I felt like myself again. Not the woman who'd been married to Derek. Not the woman who'd tried so hard to fit into his family. Just me. Simone. Strong and capable and ready to fight. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Derek. We need to talk. The lawyers are making this more complicated than it needs to be. Can we meet and work this out like adults? I showed Candace. She snorted. Adults? He wants to work it out like adults? After what he did. I typed back, speak to my lawyer. I have nothing to say to you. His response came quickly, don't be like this. I'm trying to be reasonable. Mom and Dad are upset about you bothering that notary. You need to drop whatever you think you found. So they knew. Thomas had filed the will. They were panicking. Tell your parents and your lawyer that Catherine's will is legal and binding. Tell them I'm not backing down. And tell them to enjoy their freedom while they can. Things are about to get very interesting. I blocked his number before he could respond. Damn, Candace said. You're really doing this. I really am. That night I couldn't sleep. Not from worry but from excitement. Every piece was falling into place. Every day I was getting stronger. The Bennetts had made a fatal mistake. They'd assumed I was weak because I'd been quiet. They'd assumed I was nothing because they treated me like nothing. But quiet isn't weak. And invisible people see everything. They were about to learn that lesson the hard way. The probate court hearing for Catherine's will was scheduled for a Thursday morning. I dressed in a charcoal gray suit and wore my hair pulled back. Professional. Unshakable. I met Bianca and Thomas outside the courthouse at 8:30. Ready? Bianca asked. More than ready. Inside, the Bennett family was already there. Patricia wore a cream suit and a furious expression. Harold looked nervous. Derek avoided eye contact. His siblings sat in a row like judges at an execution, their arms crossed, their faces hostile. Heather was there too, sitting next to Derek, her hand on his knee. She wore a black dress and too much perfume. When she saw me, she smirked. I smiled back. Her smirk faded. The judge was a woman in her 60s named Margaret Rodriguez. She had the no-nonsense look of someone who'd seen every trick in the book. Thomas presented Catherine's will, the medical reports confirming her mental competency, and the video of her signing it. Patricia's lawyer tried to argue that Catherine had been unduly influenced, that I'd manipulated an old woman. Judge Rodriguez watched the video twice. Then she looked at Patricia's lawyer. Counsel, I see no evidence of undue influence. Mrs. Catherine Bennett appears lucid and firm in her intentions. Unless you have actual proof of manipulation, this objection is overruled. Your Honor, the timing is suspicious. Mrs. Simone Bennett waited until now to produce this will. Because she didn't know about it, Thomas interrupted. Mrs. Catherine Bennett specifically instructed me not to contact her granddaughter-in-law until after her death and until she came to me herself. She wanted Mrs. Simone Bennett to discover the will on her own terms. That's convenient, Patricia's lawyer said. Judge Rodriguez frowned. What's convenient is having a video record of the will signing, multiple witnesses, medical evaluations, and proper notarization. This will is valid. I'm ordering immediate distribution of $500,000 to Mrs. Simone Bennett for immediate needs, with the remainder of the trust to be distributed upon completion of probate. Case closed. The gavel came down. Patricia stood up, her face red. This is ridiculous. That money should go to my grandchildren. Your mother-in-law made her wishes clear, Mrs. Bennett, the judge said coldly. If you'd like to contest further, you're welcome to appeal. But I warn you, frivolous appeals can result in sanctions. I'd think carefully before proceeding. Outside the courthouse, I stood with Bianca and Thomas while the Bennett family filed past. Patricia glared at me. Harold wouldn't look at me. Derek's siblings muttered insults under their breath. Derek stopped. Simone, please. This is going too far. That money was supposed to be for our children. We don't have children, Derek. We're never going to have children. That money is mine and you need to accept it. My grandmother was manipulated. Your grandmother saw exactly what your family was. She protected me from you. Now move along. Your mistress is waiting. Heather had indeed stopped a few feet away, tapping her foot impatiently. Derek looked between us, then walked away. Bianca squeezed my shoulder. That was perfect. How do you feel? Like I can breathe for the first time in weeks. The money hit my account within 3 days. $500,000. I'd never seen that much money in my life. The first thing I did was find an apartment. A nice one-bedroom in a modern building with a gym and a rooftop deck. I signed a year lease and paid 6 months up front. The second thing I did was buy a car. Nothing fancy, just a reliable Honda that was mine. Only my name on the title. No one could take it from me. The third thing I did was shop for new clothes for my job. Professional pieces that made me feel confident. I threw out everything I'd worn as Derek's wife. Those clothes belonged to a different person. Friday came and I went to Janet's office to start my contract position. The marketing team was small but talented. They welcomed me warmly, no questions asked about where I'd been for 3 years. Just genuine excitement to have me on board. My first project was rebranding a local restaurant chain. The kind of work I used to love. Strategic thinking. Creative problem solving. By the end of the first week, I remembered why I'd been good at this job. More than that, I remembered who I used to be. Competent. Independent. Happy. One evening after work, I met Candace for dinner at a place downtown. We sat outside on the patio drinking wine and watching people walk by. "You look different," Candace said. "Lighter. I feel different. Like I'd been carrying something heavy and finally put it down. Have you heard anything from Derek? His lawyer keeps sending settlement offers. Each one is worse than the last. Bianca laughs every time she gets one. We're not settling. We're going to court." "What about the IRS thing?" Gerald finished his analysis of the documents we got through Discovery. He found over $2 million in fraudulent deductions, fake vendors, and hidden income. He submitted his report to the IRS last week. He said they're opening a formal investigation. Candace whistled. "That family is imploding." "Good. They deserve it." My phone rang. "Bianca." "We have a development," she said when I answered. "Derek's lawyer called. They want to settle immediately. They're offering you the house free and clear, $500,000 in cash and Derek's retirement accounts. Plus they'll pay your legal fees." "What's the catch?" "You have to sign an NDA about the family business practices and agree not to cooperate with any investigation into their finances." I laughed. "No. That's what I told them. I said we're going to trial and we're asking for more than they're offering. Plus you've already provided information to the IRS through Gerald. There's no taking that back. They're trying to buy your silence after the horse is already out of the barn." "What did they say?" "Derek's lawyer said they'd see us in court." Then he hung up. "Good." After we hung up, Candace raised her glass. To not taking their garbage deal. To not taking any of their garbage ever again. We clinked glasses. Over the next month I fell into a routine. Work during the day. Gym in the evening. Dinner with Candace or other friends I'd reconnected with. Weekends spent exploring the city like a tourist, rediscovering places I'd forgotten. I went to a concert with Candace. I took a pottery class. I read books just because I wanted to, not because I was trying to impress anyone. And slowly, the woman I'd been before Derek emerged again. The woman who laughed easily. Who had opinions and wasn't afraid to share them. Who took up space in the world instead of trying to shrink herself down. One Saturday, I drove past the house I used to live in with Derek. There was a for sale sign in the yard. Bianca had gotten a court order forcing him to sell it as part of the divorce proceedings. I didn't want it back. Too many bad memories. I drove to the estate instead. Parked outside the gates. The cottage was visible from the road, small and peaceful among the oak trees. That belonged to me now too. I decided to keep it. Maybe turn it into a reading room. A place to think and remember the one person in that family who'd actually cared about me. My phone rang. A known number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mrs. Bennett? This is Agent Peterson from the IRS. I'm calling about the investigation into Bennett Industries. We'd like to schedule an interview with you at your earliest convenience." I pulled over to the side of the road. "An interview?" "Yes, ma'am. Mr. Hutchins provided us with documentation, and your lawyer submitted some additional materials through the divorce discovery process. We have enough for a formal investigation, but we'd like to speak with you about what you witnessed during your marriage. Are you willing to cooperate?" "Absolutely." "Excellent. We'll have someone from our office contact you to arrange a time. Thank you for your assistance, Mrs. Bennett." After he hung up, I sat in my car for a long moment. The IRS was really doing it. They were going after Derek's family. I thought about Patricia's face at the courthouse. Derek's cowardice. Heather's smug superiority. All of them so certain they were untouchable. They were wrong. I started the car and drove to my new apartment. My space. My sanctuary. My fresh start. That night I slept better than I had in years. The IRS interview took place in a sterile conference room downtown. Agent Peterson was there with another agent named Williams. They asked me questions for 3 hours. I told them everything. Every conversation I'd overheard. Every suspicious transaction I'd seen. Every moment when Harold or Patricia had let something slip at a family dinner. "This is very helpful," Agent Peterson said when we finished. "We're building a strong case. I should tell you that we've already frozen several of the family's accounts pending investigation." "Frozen?" "Yes, ma'am. Standard procedure when we suspect ongoing fraud. They can't access those funds until the investigation concludes." I tried not to smile. Failed. "One more thing," Agent Williams added. "We're also investigating Patricia Bennett's personal finances. Did you ever witness her discussing offshore accounts or foreign investments?" I thought back. Once at Thanksgiving dinner, she got drunk and mentioned something about the Cayman Islands. Harold told her to be quiet. She laughed and said the IRS would never find it. The agents exchanged glances. Agent Williams wrote that down. "Thank you, Mrs. Bennett. We'll be in touch if we need anything else." The next day, Bianca called with more news. "The divorce trial is scheduled for 2 months from now. But there's been a development. Derek's lawyer contacted me again. They've increased their settlement offer significantly." "How significantly?" "The house, $1 million in cash, all retirement accounts, and half of Derek's future inheritance from his parents. Plus they waive any claim to your trust from Catherine." "They're desperate." "Very. The IRS investigation has them spooked. They're worried about what will come out in a public trial. Rich families hate publicity, especially negative publicity. What do you think I should do?" "That's your decision. The offer is generous. More than we'd probably get from a judge. But if you want to see this through to trial, make them squirm in public, I support that too." I thought about it. The money was significant. It would set me up permanently. I could quit working if I wanted, though I didn't want to. But part of me wanted to see them on the witness stand, forced to answer for what they'd done. "Can I think about it?" "Take your time. We have 2 weeks to respond." That weekend, I visited the cottage. I'd hired contractors to clean it up, fix the roof, replace the old appliances. It was slowly becoming beautiful again. A place of peace. I sat in Grandma Catherine's old rocking chair and looked out the window at the oak trees. What would she want me to do? I thought I knew. She'd protected me because she'd wanted me to be free. To be happy. Fighting the Bennetts forever wouldn't make me happy. It would keep me tied to them, keep me thinking about them, keep them in my life. Taking their money and walking away would be the ultimate victory. They'd spend the rest of their lives knowing they had to pay me to go away. That their son's stupidity and their own cruelty cost them over $1 million plus everything the IRS would take. I called Bianca. "I'll take the settlement. But I want it in writing that they can never contact me again. And I want a public apology from Derek." "A public apology?" "Posted on his social media. Something simple acknowledging that he was wrong and wishing me well. I don't need it for me. I need it so everyone who knew us sees that he admits what he did. That's going to be a hard sell. Then tell them I'll see them in court. My choice." Bianca laughed. "You've gotten tough. I learned from you." 2 days later, Bianca called back. They agreed. All of it. They'll post the apology today and have the settlement papers ready by tomorrow. "Simone, you won." "We won." "No. This was all you. I just helped with the paperwork." That afternoon, I watched as Derek posted on social media. "I want to publicly apologize to my ex-wife Simone. I was wrong in how I treated her during our marriage and especially during our divorce. She deserved better than what I gave her. I wish her nothing but happiness and success in the future." The comments poured in within minutes. Friends I hadn't talked to in years saying they were glad I was free of him. People from his work asking what happened. Heather commenting, "Really?" with an angry emoji. I didn't comment. I didn't need to. The post would stay there forever, a permanent record of his admission. The next day, I went to Bianca's office and signed the settlement papers. The money would transfer within a week. The house sale would finalize within 30 days. My lawyer fees would be paid by Derek's family. "How does it feel?" Bianca asked. "Like the end of a nightmare." "What will you do now?" "Live my life. Actually live it this time." As I left her office, my phone rang. Janet from work. "Simone, I need to talk to you about your contract." My heart sank. "Is everything okay?" "More than okay. The restaurant project you worked on exceeded every expectation. The client is thrilled. I want to offer you a permanent position. Senior Marketing Director. Full benefits. $80,000 a year to start." I stopped walking. "Seriously?" "Seriously. You're phenomenally talented. I should never have let you leave in the first place. What do you say?" "Yes." Absolutely yes. After we hung up, I stood on the sidewalk and laughed. Actually laughed out loud. People walking by looked at me like I was crazy. I didn't care. 3 months ago, I'd been humiliated at a restaurant. Cut out of a will. Told I was worthless. Now I had over $6 million in the bank once everything transferred. A job I loved. An apartment I adored. Friends who supported me. And a future that was entirely mine to create. That evening, I went to Candace's place. We sat on her balcony and I told her everything. So you're rich now, she said. I guess I am. Are you going to go crazy? Buy a yacht? Travel the world? I thought about it. Maybe travel. But mostly I want to do something meaningful. Grandma Catherine gave me this money because she believed in me. I want to use it well. Like what? I'm thinking about starting a foundation. Something that helps women going through divorce. Legal fees, housing assistance, job training. All the things I needed but was lucky enough to have money for. Most women don't have that. Candace smiled. Catherine would have loved that. I think so too. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Patricia. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed our family. I stared at the message for a moment, then deleted it and blocked the number. I wasn't destroyed. My family wasn't destroyed. Her family had destroyed themselves. Who was that? Candace asked. Nobody important. We drank wine and watched the sunset. The sky turned orange, then pink, then purple. The city lights came on one by one. It was beautiful. You know what the best part is? I said. What? They thought humiliating me would break me. Instead it freed me. They did me a favor and they don't even know it. Candace raised her glass. To terrible families and the women strong enough to leave them. To new beginnings. We clinked glasses as the last light faded from the sky. 2 weeks after I signed the settlement papers, the news broke. Local business family under federal investigation for tax fraud, read the headline in the city's main newspaper. The article was thorough. Multiple unnamed sources. References to shell companies and offshore accounts. Estimated fraud in the millions. Harold and Patricia's names were front and center. I read the article 3 times over coffee in my apartment. Part of me felt vindicated. Another part felt almost sorry for them. Almost. Bianca called within an hour of the article publishing. Have you seen the news? Reading it now. The IRS moved faster than I expected. They must have found something big. My contact at the federal courthouse says the family's lawyer is scrambling. There might be criminal charges, not just civil penalties. Criminal charges? Tax evasion on this scale is a felony. If they can prove intent, which it sounds like they can, Harold and Patricia could face prison time. I set down my coffee cup. Prison. I'd wanted them to face consequences, but prison seemed extreme. Then I remembered Patricia's face at the restaurant. The way she'd savored my humiliation. The cruelty in her voice. No. They'd made their choices. They'd broken the law because they thought they were above it. What about Derek? I asked. Depends on his involvement. If he knowingly participated in the fraud, he could face charges too. If he was just negligent or willfully ignorant, probably not. Over the next few days, more details emerged. The IRS had found offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands containing over $8 million. Fake invoices totaling $3 million. Unreported income going back 15 years. Harold held a press conference denying everything. He looked old and tired, nothing like the arrogant man I'd known. Patricia stood beside him, silent for once, her face like stone. Derek posted on social media that he'd had no knowledge of his parents' business practices and was cooperating with investigators. The comments were brutal. People calling him a liar. Asking about his divorce. Questioning his character. Heather broke up with him publicly. She posted a long statement about how she couldn't be with someone involved in criminal activity, and how she needed to protect her reputation. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. Candace sent me screenshots. Rats fleeing a sinking ship. Good riddance to both of them, I replied. The following week, Gerald called me. Mrs. Bennett, I wanted to thank you. Without the information you provided, none of this would have been possible. You did most of the work. Maybe. But you had the courage to come forward. A lot of people wouldn't have. They'd have taken the settlement and stayed quiet. I did take the settlement. But you didn't stay quiet about the fraud. That matters. The IRS estimates they'll recover over $12 million in back taxes and penalties. That money funds schools, roads, programs for people who need help. You did a good thing. After we hung up, I thought about that. I'd been so focused on revenge that I hadn't considered the bigger picture. The Bennett's fraud had stolen from everyone. Every taxpayer who played by the rules while they cheated. Maybe I had done a good thing. Work became my refuge. The marketing campaign for the restaurant chain was a huge success. Sales were up 30%. The client signed a long-term contract with our firm and specifically requested I stay on the account. Janet called me into her office one afternoon. I want to give you more responsibility. We're opening a new division focused on brand rehabilitation. Companies that have suffered reputation damage and need help rebuilding public trust. I think you'd be perfect to head it up. Me? I've only been back a few months. And you've already proven you're excellent at what you do. Plus, you understand what it's like to rebuild after everything falls apart. That perspective is valuable. It was a promotion. More money, more authority, more challenge. I accepted immediately. That weekend, I took Candace to the cottage. The renovations were almost complete. New roof, new appliances, fresh paint. But I'd kept the rocking chair and the old quilt. Reminders of Catherine. This is beautiful, Candace said, looking around. What are you going to do with it? I thought about turning it into a retreat. A place where women going through divorce can come to think and heal. Just for a few days at a time. Somewhere quiet and safe. Like a bed and breakfast? More like a sanctuary. Free. Just a place to breathe. Candace smiled. Catherine would love that. I hope so. The next month flew by. The divorce was finalized. I officially changed my name back to my maiden name, Simone Carter. It felt like closing a door on one life and opening another. The settlement money transferred. I paid off the few debts I had, invested most of it with a financial advisor, and set aside a substantial amount for the foundation I wanted to start. The house Derek and I lived in sold to a young couple expecting their first child. I hoped they'd be happy there. I hoped they'd fill it with better memories than mine. One evening, I was working late at the office when my phone rang. A known number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Hello? Simone? It's Nathan. Derek's brother. I froze. What do you want? I need to talk to you. In person. It's important. Please. I have nothing to say to your family. It's not about the family. It's about Derek. Please. Just coffee. 20 minutes. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met at a cafe near my office. Nathan looked terrible. He'd lost weight, and his expensive suit hung loose on his frame. Thank you for meeting me, he said when I sat down. You have 15 minutes. Talk. Derek is falling apart. Heather left him. He lost his job because of the scandal. Mom and Dad are facing prison time. He's living in a studio apartment and drinking too much. That's not my problem. I know. I'm not asking you to help him. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. For the dinner. For going along with it. For treating you the way we all did. I studied his face. He looked sincere. Broken but sincere. Why are you telling me this? Because I've had time to think. About the family. About how we treat people. Dad's business is failing. Mom's friends all dropped her when the news broke. Derek's a mess. And you know what? We deserve it. All of it. We treated you like garbage and karma is real. Yes, you did deserve it. I know. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that at least one person in that family realizes we were wrong. You were the only decent one among all of us. He stood to leave. I let him go without another word. That night I thought about what he'd said. Part of me felt satisfaction at Derek's downfall. Another part felt nothing at all. He was becoming a stranger. A person I used to know. His pain didn't make me happy, but it didn't make me sad either. I was done caring about Derek Bennett and his family. 6 months after the IRS investigation began, the indictments came down. Harold Bennett was charged with 15 counts of tax evasion, wire fraud, and money laundering. Patricia was charged with 8 counts as an accessory and for her role in hiding assets. The trial was set for 3 months later. I didn't plan to attend. I'd given my deposition to the prosecutors. My part was done. But Bianca called the day before the trial started. You should be there, she said. Not for them. For you. To see justice actually happen. So I went. I sat in the back of the courtroom with Candace beside me. The room was packed with reporters, curious onlookers, and other people who'd been burned by the Bennetts over the years. Harold and Patricia sat at the defense table looking smaller than I remembered. Their expensive lawyer made aggressive arguments, but the evidence was overwhelming. Bank records. Emails. Testimony from Gerald and the family's former accountant. Documents from the Cayman Islands accounts. Derek was called as a witness. He testified that he'd had no knowledge of his parents' illegal activities. The prosecutor asked pointed questions about the company credit card charges, the fake vendors, the obvious signs that should have alerted him. I didn't want to see it, Derek finally admitted on the stand. I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't want to know the details. It was easier to pretend everything was fine. Willful ignorance, the prosecutor said. Derek hung his head. Yes. He looked at me once from the witness stand. I kept my expression neutral. He looked away quickly. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The jury deliberated for 3 days. Guilty on all counts. Harold was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. Patricia got 4 years as an accessory. They were also ordered to pay back taxes, penalties, and interest totaling $18 million. The family business was dissolved, assets ceased to pay the debt. I watched them being led out of the courtroom in handcuffs. Patricia was crying. Harold looked defeated. Part of me felt sad for them. But mostly I felt closure. Outside the courthouse, reporters tried to ask me questions. I declined to comment. This wasn't my story to tell. It was a story about greed and consequences. Bianca and I went to lunch after the sentencing. How do you feel? She asked. Relieved. Like I can finally move on completely. You handled this better than most people would have. You didn't let the anger consume you. You used it productively and then let it go. I had good help. You had good instincts. The help just guided them. A few weeks later, I officially launched the Catherine Bennett Foundation for Women in Transition. The mission was to provide legal assistance, temporary housing, and job training for women going through divorce or leaving abusive relationships. The cottage became our first retreat house. Women could stay there for up to 2 weeks while they figured out their next steps. We provided counseling, legal consultations, and connections to job opportunities. The foundation's opening was covered by local news. They interviewed me about why I started it. I told them about Catherine and how she'd saved me when I needed it most. I had resources most women don't have, I said into the camera. I had money for lawyers and a place to stay. Most women fleeing bad situations have nothing. This foundation is for them. To give them the tools they need to rebuild their lives. Applications poured in. We helped 12 women in the first month alone. Each success story felt like honoring Catherine's memory. One evening, I was at the office late when security called. Miss Carter, there's someone here to see you. Derek Bennett. Should I send him up? My first instinct was to say no. But curiosity won out. Send him up. Derek looked terrible when he walked into my office. Unshaven. Tired. Wearing jeans and an old sweater instead of his usual expensive suits. I know you don't want to see me, he said, standing in the doorway. But I needed to say something. You have 5 minutes. He sat across from my desk. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything. I know you probably don't even care. But I needed to say it. You deserved so much better than what I gave you. And I was too selfish and stupid to see it. Is that all? No. I want you to know that losing you was the worst mistake of my life. Not the money. Not the job. Losing you. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw you away for nothing. For Heather. He laughed bitterly. Heather left the second things got hard. She was with me for the money and the status. You were with me because you actually cared. I was too dumb to appreciate that. I studied him. He meant it. The apology was real. But it was also too late. Derek, I accept your apology. I do. But I don't forgive you. Not because I'm holding a grudge, but because forgiveness would imply we have some kind of relationship. We don't. You're a stranger to me now. A person I used to know. I understand. I hope you figure your life out. I hope you become a better person. But I don't need to be part of that journey. We're done. Completely. He nodded and stood to leave. At the door he turned back. The foundation is a good thing. Grandma Catherine would be proud. I know. After he left, I sat in my office for a long time. I didn't feel angry or sad or victorious. I felt neutral. Derek Bennett was officially in my past. I called Candace. Derek just came by the office. Are you okay? Yeah. He apologized. It was genuine. But it doesn't change anything. Good. He should apologize. He should grovel. But you're right. It doesn't change anything. He made his choices. Want to get dinner? Always. Thai place in 20 minutes. Perfect. As I packed up my office and headed out, I thought about how far I'd come. 6 months ago, I'd been humiliated and broken. Now I ran a successful marketing division, had millions in the bank, and was making a real difference in women's lives. The Bennetts had tried to destroy me. Instead, they'd freed me to become who I was always meant to be. Life was funny that way. 1 year after the dinner that changed my life, I stood in the ballroom of a downtown hotel. The Catherine Bennett Foundation's first annual gala was about to begin. 200 people had paid to attend. Local celebrities, business leaders, politicians, people who wanted to support the cause. I'd never been comfortable being the center of attention, but tonight was important. The foundation had helped over 100 women in its first year. We'd expanded the retreat house program to 3 locations. We'd provided over $500,000 in legal assistance. Candace stood beside me in a stunning blue dress. "You ready for this?" "As ready as I'll ever be." The doors opened. Guests filed in, champagne glasses in hand, admiring the decorations. I'd chosen a theme of new beginnings. Fresh flowers everywhere. Bright colors. Nothing dark or heavy. Janet was there with her husband. Gerald came with his wife. Bianca wore a gorgeous red gown and immediately made her way over to me. "You look amazing," she said. "This whole event is amazing. Catherine would be so proud." I hope so. The evening included dinner, silent auctions, and testimonials from women the foundation had helped. One woman stood at the podium and told her story of leaving an abusive marriage with nothing but 2 suitcases and her 3 children. The foundation had provided her with legal representation, temporary housing, and helped her find a job. "Because of this foundation, I have my life back," she said, tears streaming down her face. "My children are safe. We have our own apartment. I have a career." None of that would have been possible without the Catherine Bennett Foundation. The room erupted in applause. I wiped my own tears away. During the silent auction, I walked around greeting guests. A local news anchor interviewed me about the foundation's success. A state senator pledged additional support. A tech CEO offered to match donations up to $100,000. Everything was perfect. Near the end of the evening, as I was taking a moment alone on the balcony, someone approached. Nathan. Derek's brother. I hadn't seen him since that coffee months ago. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "I wasn't sure if I should come, but I wanted to support the foundation. I made a donation. Anonymous. Thank you. I also wanted you to know that I've left the family business. What's left of it anyway. I'm working for a nonprofit now. It doesn't pay well, but it feels right." "That's good. I'm glad you're doing better." "Derek's in therapy. Did he tell you?" "We don't talk." "Right. Well, he is. He's working on himself. Not for you. Just for himself. He knows he can't fix what he broke." "Good." Nathan handed me an envelope. "This is from me. Not from the family. Just from me. A donation to the foundation and a letter. You don't have to read it now. Or ever. But I wanted to give it to you." After he left, I opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a handwritten letter. "Simone, I've spent the last year thinking about the kind of person I was and the kind of person I want to be. I grew up in a family that valued money over character, status over kindness. I went along with it because it was easy, because I benefited from it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just acknowledging that I was wrong. We were all wrong. The way we treated you was cruel and inexcusable. I know this donation doesn't make up for anything, but I want to support the work you're doing. You're helping people. You're making a difference. That's more than anyone in my family ever did with all our money. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like. Nathan." I folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. Nathan was trying. That was something. The gala ended at midnight. After the last guest left, Candace and I sat at one of the empty tables, our shoes off, exhausted but happy. "You did it," Candace said. "You built something beautiful out of something terrible. We did it. I couldn't have done any of this without you. What's next? More retreat houses. More programs. I want to help thousands of women. I want the Catherine Bennett Foundation to be known nationally. You will. Look at what you've done in 1 year." My phone buzzed. An email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line said, "Thank you." I opened it. "Miss Carter, you don't know me. My name is Rachel. I stayed at your retreat house last month after leaving my husband. I had nowhere else to go and no money for a lawyer. Your foundation provided everything I needed. I wanted to thank you. Because of your help, I have a job now. I have my own apartment. I have hope for the first time in years. You saved my life. I know you'll probably never see this email, but I needed to write it anyway. What you're doing matters. You're changing lives. Thank you, Rachel." I showed Candace the email. She smiled. "That's why you do this." "Yeah, that's exactly why." Later that night, alone in my apartment, I poured a glass of wine and went out onto my balcony. The city sparkled below me. Somewhere out there, women were suffering in bad marriages, dealing with abuse, feeling trapped and hopeless. But because of Catherine's gift, because of the foundation, some of them would find help. They'd find hope. They'd find the strength to start over. My phone rang one last time that night. A known number. I answered, thinking it might be another guest from the gala. Simone? This is Patricia. I should have hung up. But something made me listen. I'm calling from prison. I'm only allowed a few minutes. I wanted to say something. Make it quick. You won. You destroyed our family. I hope you're happy. I didn't destroy your family, Patricia. You did that all by yourselves. I just refused to go down with you. Catherine was a fool to leave you all that money. No. She was smart to see what you really were. She saw it before I did. Patricia was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Smaller. I'm going to die in here. The doctors say I have cancer. Stage 4. I'll never get out. I didn't know what to say to that. I'm not asking for pity, she continued. I'm just telling you. I made mistakes. Big mistakes. But I'm paying for them. We all are. Yes, you are. Do you hate us? Me and Harold and Derek? I thought about the question. Did I hate them? Once maybe. But not anymore. No, I finally said. I don't hate you. I don't feel anything about you at all. You're just people who hurt me once. But I survived. I'm thriving. You can't hurt me anymore. Take care of Derek. He's weak. He needs someone. Derek is not my responsibility. He never was. You're cold? No. I'm free. There's a difference. Goodbye, Patricia. I hung up before she could respond. Then I blocked the number. The next morning, I woke up early and went for a run. The sunrise was beautiful, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. I ran along the river trail, my breath steady, my mind clear. At work, I had 3 meetings about expanding the foundation. A women's shelter wanted to partner with us. A law school wanted to provide pro bono students for our legal clinic. A corporate sponsor wanted to fund a new retreat house in another city. Everything was coming together. That evening, I went to the cottage. It was empty between guests, so I had it to myself. I sat in Catherine's rocking chair and looked at the photographs on the wall. Pictures of women who'd stayed here. Their smiling faces. Their thank you notes. A letter sat on the table. One of the guests had left it for me. Dear Simone, I never thought I'd escape my marriage. I thought I'd be trapped forever. But you gave me a way out. You gave me hope. Because of you, my daughter will grow up knowing that women don't have to stay in situations that hurt them. That we have power. That we matter. Thank you for using your pain to help others. Thank you for building this beautiful place. Thank you for existing. With love and gratitude, Jennifer. I folded the letter carefully and added it to the collection I kept. Every letter reminded me why I did this work. Every thank you note proved that Catherine's gift was being used well. My phone rang. Bianca. I have news. The final paperwork came through. Derek's inheritance from his parents, the half you were entitled to from the settlement, just cleared. $200,000. I thought the family lost everything. Not everything. They had some accounts that were legitimate. The court ordered those split according to the settlement agreement. The money is yours. Put it in the foundation account. All of it. You sure? That's a lot of money to give away. I'm sure. It's fitting, don't you think? The family's money going to help women escape bad families. Bianca laughed. Poetic justice. I'll handle the transfer. After we hung up, I sat in the cottage for a while longer. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows. Birds sang in the oak trees. Everything was peaceful. I thought about the woman I'd been a year ago. Humiliated. Broken. Certain her life was over. That woman would be amazed at who I'd become. I built a career I loved. A foundation that helped hundreds of women. A life filled with purpose and meaning. I had real friends. Financial security. The Bennetts thought they'd destroyed me with that dinner. Instead, they'd set me free. Because sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. Sometimes losing everything means finding yourself. I locked up the cottage and drove back to the city. My life, my future. And it was beautiful.